Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the December Port Canaveral Commission meeting. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I'd like to, Kevin, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and recognize our ambassadors. Mr. Mike Gautreaux. Mr. Mike Mervis is here as well. I saw Robbie Roberts walk in. Mr. Bob Sox. Mr. Sean Conway. And Ms. Janice Scott. Got a well-attended meeting today. Thank you, ambassadors. Now I think we turn it over to Harold, and he leads, I think Kevin and I are being sworn in.
Yep, could I ask you to meet me down here? Yeah. Yes. All right, commissioners, if you please, raise your right hand and state your name.
I, Michael Boyd. I, Kevin Markey.
Okay, repeat after me. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear.
that I will support, protect, and defend
That I will support, protect, and defend.
That I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
The Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida.
and of the state of Florida.
I am duly qualified to hold office
and
I'm duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state.
and that I will well and faithfully perform
That I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of Commissioner
the duties of Commissioner
of the Canaveral Port Authority,
of the Canaveral Port Authority,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
I was going to sing a Christmas.
You two can have a duet up here on Christmas carols if you want to follow through.
It was almost harmonizing up there, so.
I know.
All right, I think Harold, you're still up, right? Where did Harold go? Oh, there he is.
Okay, now it's time to elect the officers for the upcoming year. I'll receive nominations. There are no seconds required. If I hear a nomination for let's say, the office of chairman, I'll receive that nomination, I'll accept that. If there are no other, if I'll ask for any other nominations. If not, I'll close it, we'll vote. And we'll do the same thing for vice chairman and secretary treasurer. Okay?
I nominate Commissioner Wayne Justice for chair.
Okay? Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of winning justice for chairs, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay? Now for vice chairman.
I'd like to nominate Jerry Allender for vice chairman.
Any other nominations for vice chairman? Hearing none, all in favor of Jerry for vice chairman, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now secretary treasurer, I'll accept nominations for that position.
I'd like to nominate Fritz Van Valkenburg for secretary treasurer.
Any other nominations for secretary treasurer? Hearing none, all in favor of Fritz for secretary treasurer, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations all.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I would like to take a second again to ask for another round of applause for the job that this guy did for the last year. Good job. A lot of things going on here and moving it along. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the October 23 minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Personal appearance and presentations, Amanda, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am here as the Vice President of Human Resources to present our service awards. We have 4 employees who are receiving service awards today. Our first honoree has been here 5 years, and this is Narissa Long. She has started working in the port in 2019 in the finance department as a coordinator. She was also an accounts receivable specialist before being promoted to the staff accountant, accounts receivable. She's responsible for general accounting functions, and the position will also support the senior staff accountant and will supervise the payroll AR coordinator, which is a position we are hiring for now. When she is not at the port, Narissa spends time with her husband, Brad, and their 5 daughters and 2 grandchildren. Narissa is passionate about food, travel, and yoga. She also likes to explore new places, attend concerts, and plays with her husband. Thank you, Narissa. The next person we'd like to recognize is Shirley Hansen. Shirley started as a business analyst in the IT department 5 years ago, October 2019. She was promoted to Manager Business Applications and Solutions in 2021. She leads the team responsible for deploying, managing, and supporting cross-functional IT applications and systems, and works closely with leaders across the organization to improve business processes and strategies. Outside of work, Shirley enjoys reading, completing puzzles, as well as camping and attending football games with her husband. Thank you, Shirley. Next, we have Michael Zeiler. Mike joined the port in December 2019 as Assistant General Counsel. He provides advice on a diverse range of legal matters, including agreements, policymaking and enforcement, real estate matters, regulatory compliance, public procurement, litigation, environmental security, general insurance, and public entity governance. He's pretty busy. Mike strives to be outdoors whenever he can, running a race, boating, or exploring the state parks and lighthouses with his fiancée. Mike recently completed the Space Coast Half Marathon on December 1st. Thank you, Michael. Next, we have an employee who has been here for 15 years, Gary Hartledge. Gary retired from the U.S. Army as a first sergeant after 24 years of service. He joined the port as a seaport safety officer in February 2009. He has held several positions in the PSS department, and he was promoted to his current position, Assistant Facility Security Officer, in 2018. The AFSO is directed in part by the Title 33 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Florida statute, the port's standing facility security plan, as well as the Canaveral Port Authority tariff, and must meet the requirements for and be able to perform the duties of the facility security officer. Gary and his wife, Diana, have been married for 45 years. They have 2 sons, Gary and Scott, and 5 grandkids. Gary likes to travel and play golf all around Florida. Thank you, Gary. Please join me in congratulating all of our Milestone Service Award employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Next up, we're going to have our annual recreation update. And I think Michael's going to start us off with that. Thanks.
morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Mike Hoffman. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Customer Experience. And per the charter, I'll be doing the 2024 Recreation Update today. If you don't have any questions, I'll go ahead and get started.
Please.
So Port Canaveral offers a variety of recreational experiences. I think we all can agree that Jetty Park is the crown jewel. It's a 45-acre park with 186 campsite, day park with about 12 pavilions to rent, also a playground, beach volleyball, a 1,200-foot fishing pier for fishing, and also 5 different beach access points that lead to 4.5 acres of beachfront property. I'd like to touch real quick, the beach access point number 2 is going to be actually getting a Moby mat installed. This mat is actually going to be laid down from the boardwalk all the way down to the beach, and this will give people with disabilities the capability to just an easier trek to get all the way down to the beach. We also have plenty of boating opportunities. We have Freddie Patrick Boat Ramp, which is right next to Jetty Park, and also Rodney Ketchum Park. Plenty of fishing opportunities, camping, the beach access like I highlighted, special events, which I'll touch on in the next slide, and also obviously rocket launch viewings, which you have plenty here at Jetty Park. All right, so a couple of special events that we've had throughout the year. Some were port operated and some were supported by the port. Some of the popular ones are Thunder on Cocoa Beach. It's a multi-day event. We also have the July fireworks event. This year, we actually kind of changed the operations of that. We launched the fireworks from landside this year. That seemed to work out really well, so I think we're going to continue to do that. We also have the Propellers Club Shrimp Feast, the Canaveral Port Ministries Walk for Bibles, Red Snapper Season. We also had Parks and Recreation Day. This day is really to celebrate Parks and Recreation professionals, but we celebrate in giving back to the community by giving promotional items and also having food trucks available for our guests. We also had a Halloween trunk or treat event this year. It worked out really well. We had a launch that same night, so we had several hundred people there that were dressed in their Halloween costumes and then went over to the trunk or treat. We also were supposed to have a kids fishing clinic this past October, but with the flurry of hurricanes, that had to be postponed to 2025. So I just wanted to touch on the special events process. There is a process here in order to have special events on Port Canaveral property. There are 2 submittal periods where you can put in an application for your special event, and that's in March and September. Requests must be submitted at least 90 days in advance, but the good news is you can put your special event date up to a year in advance. Multi-day events are obviously required to be approved by the Board of Commissioners. For example, Thunder on Cocoa Beach, I believe that's on the agenda today. Applications are reviewed by the Special Events Committee, and they essentially use the policy and procedures that outlined by the port in order to approve or deny those events, and all that information is on our website. Very excited about all the capital improvement projects we have going on this fiscal year. A little over $11 million that are going to be approved. A lot of these are still in the discussion phase, but very excited. They all have allocated funding for this fiscal year. First one is the Rodney Ketchum Park design. We leveraged a grant through the state to assist with the design process of that. The biggest thing with that design is that there is a dog leg on that boat ramp that needs to be straightened out. That will give easier access to boaters to go in and out of the boat ramp. And then moving on to Jetty Park, we have a lot of paving coming up. We're going to repave the main entry road. And actually, we're going to pave the campground as well, which is big because all those roads are currently dirt and gravel. So when it's dry, it's a dust pit, a dust bowl, and when it's wet, it's a mud pit. So just making it easier for these big rigs to move out throughout the campground. And then also the overflow lot, we'll be paving that and turning it into a parking lot. I know that's not very fun, but it's going to give us a better idea of how many vehicles we can fit within the park. We also have lighting upgrades throughout the park. The pavilion renovation, which is the blueprint right here you'll see on the slide. Very excited about this project. It's going to be an open air pavilion with multiple picnic tables for people to be able to eat lunch and gather around. Also 3 different food truck pedestals that will be able to have food trucks there. Oops. And also renovating that bathroom area. So brand new bathroom facilities, open air pavilion, and food truck areas. It's really going to enhance that area for our guests. Probably my favorite project here is the RV site upgrades. There's 85 different RV sites that need to be upgraded. And by that I mean they either need a cement pad, sewage capability, or 50-30-20 ampage. 29 of those sites need cement pads, 41 of those sites could use sewage, and 85 of those sites need to be upgraded to 50-30-20. So that will be a huge advance enhancement for our guests, and will definitely make it better. Also, new cabins. We have 8 cabins currently throughout the campground, and we're looking to remove those cabins and replace them with RV sites, and then look at prefabricated cabins and putting them into tent sites 35 through 45. So if you go in the campground and look directly to your right, it's that heavily wooded area where the tent sites are right now. We're looking to make that kind of like a cabin row area. So I think that will be a big enhancement for the campground overall. Playground renovation. We're still a lot of discussion on how we want to do this. What I do know is that it needs a new playground. The current playground is outdated. So we'd be creating a new playground there and also looking at giving more, creating more recreational amenities. I know something we've discussed is a splash pad, but still a lot of discussion on what we want to do with that area, but it definitely needs to be enhanced. Then we have 3 bathhouses currently throughout the entire park. One's in the day park and 2 are in the campground. Just looking to create new facilities that have more bathrooms, more shower stalls, hopefully make them air conditioned, keypad access. So different things that are just going to enhance that as well. And then just beautification projects throughout the park. There's just some areas that, we need to get rid of invasive plants and maybe replace it with something more aesthetically pleasing. We got a lot done this past year. Accomplishments-wise, Jetty Park was open for 55 out of the 78 launches. We strive to stay open as often as possible for rocket launches. We know the community is really involved and enjoys going to those. It's just becoming harder. They're more frequent. So you have to weigh out the operational needs of the park in comparison to when we can stay open. As you can see in the slide, we have a brand new electronic sign. This has been huge for us. We're able to put pictures and update verbiage at a moment's notice. So that's been very helpful for us and our guests. And then we also installed an front entry beautification project. Facilities did a great job putting some Florida natives, some new foliage, and just kind of made it more aesthetically pleasing as you enter the park. We also implemented camper surveys. So right now, when you check out, you receive a survey, and we basically get information and feedback. A lot of that information is really positive. It's really good stuff, but sometimes you have some stuff where there's blind spots. So we just want to make sure we're evaluating everything we do from an operational standpoint. And eventually, we'd like to make that a digital for the new camp store, so you'd have some iPads that people could come in, do a survey, or we could email you a survey as well. We also standardize beach wedding ceremonies. We get a lot of ceremony requests to have a wedding on the beach throughout the year. And in the past, it's just been kind of communicating via email back and forth on figuring out the details. So what we've done is created an application that the department reviews, and then if it's approved, it turns into a permit. So that way you compile all the information everywhere, and it just makes more sense operationally. The next couple of things haven't been finalized, but we're hoping to finish this upcoming fiscal year. The camp store, that is on the verge of hopefully being done. It's a beautiful 6,500 square foot facility. It's going to be the main hub for our department to operate out of. There's 21 workstations we have there, full-fledged kitchen, bathrooms, completely enhanced camp store area for both the day park guests and our campground guests, and also a campground guest lounge area that's going to be greatly enhanced as well. We have West Tent area improvements. The West Tent area is for nonprofits, for larger groups. We've got a lot of feedback on wanting to enhance that area, so just kind of adding some benches, fire pits, anything that makes it more aesthetically pleasing and easier for our guests to stay in. Soon you're going to be able to purchase a parking pass at the booth. We're working with a vendor to solidify some operational software where if you pull up to the booth, you're able to purchase that. We're still cashless. It'll be card only still, but this will make things a lot easier for not only us operationally, but for our guests as well. Food truck agreement, like I mentioned, the pavilion is going to have 3 different food truck pedestals. Very excited about that. We're finalizing an agreement where food trucks can come in and operate on a week-to-week basis. So it wouldn't be just for an event. We could bring someone in and they could sell food to our guests. Currently, there's no food options at the park. So we want people to stay at the beach in the park for as long as they can, and having food there makes that easier. And then lastly, we're updating the rules and regulations. The biggest thing with this change is currently there's RV campers are allowed to stay 168 days. And we've got a lot of feedback from the community saying that that's too long. So we did an analysis and looked at what the other campgrounds are doing, and it's definitely lower than the 168. So what we're changing that to 120 days, and hopefully that will give more people in the community an opportunity to camp at Jetty Park. I just want to say thank you. It was short to the point, but really appreciate all your support throughout the year. Captain Murray, the board, thank you guys so much. Also Amanda, she's been a huge advocate for our department, and really a lot of this wouldn't be possible without her. So I'll leave it open for any questions.
I've got just a couple quick comments, and I think Amanda wants to talk too, right? Okay. I like to emphasize when I talk about here, if you take all the other ports in the state of Florida and add up all the recreational space that they have and all the other ports available to the public, it doesn't equal what we have here.
It's impressive.
This singular port, which obviously makes a whole nother business line that we have here, but it is unique and it's special. Other point, special events thing, again, we do less and less because we got 7 million people coming in and out of here this last year, and it's gonna be more next year. So it's just a balance between the safety of moving all those people versus having a special event. So that's something we have to balance. Thanks.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Good report, Mike.
I appreciate it.
Good that you do it every year.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is Mike's last commission meeting with us. He's leaving the port, unfortunately, and heading for a great job promotion opportunity down in Jupiter, Florida. So he's done a great job, and we thank you for everything you've done, Mike.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kevin, do you have something?
That's okay. No.
Yes, I would just like to echo the comments about Mike. He's been a very strategic and visionary leader. He has a passion for recreation. We really have enjoyed working with him. He also has really done a lot to make the events go so smoothly, including State of the Port, which we recently did. And he's worked hard on developing the team, a lot of training and development, mentoring of people. And he also has dedicated a lot of time to the Helm program and Propeller Club. So I really appreciate that as well. All around, he's been really a great leader. So he's been here over 3 years, and we do wish him all the best. Thank you, Mike. Speaking of development of the team, I would like to announce that Lisa Mayer is now our Assistant Director of Recreation. Lisa has been with the Port for over 5 years and has worked closely with Mike and has also been the leader of Jetty Park. She started as a supervisor. She moved up to a senior supervisor, then on to be a manager and a senior manager. And so she has a tremendous amount of experience. We're really excited that she has taken on the role to lead the recreation function. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Mike, both of you. Look forward to working with Lisa more closely.
Welcome. Okay, great. Thanks a lot. All right, Kay, we'll do our ambassador announcements. Fritz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to reappoint Janice Scott and Sean Conway as ambassadors. Thank you.
Micah?
Excuse me, I'd like to reappoint Jessica Maxwell and Mr. Bob Sox.
Jerry?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to renominate Robbie Roberts.
Done. Kevin?
Yes, I'd like to renominate Mike Mervis.
And if he'll still hang in there for his 11th year, the Colonel, Mike Gotro, for myself, thank you. Do we have to vote on this?
No.
It's done, all right. Next, thank you. Commissioner to the Space Coast TPO appointment. You still up for this, Jerry?
It would be my pleasure and honor to represent the Port of the TPO if that's the chairman's desire. I've been on it probably 20-some.
20-some
5 years.
Yeah, you could write a book about that whole thing for sure. All right, sounds good, you're in.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on. Captain John Murray, you're up.
Good morning.
Morning.
We'll jump right into our cruise operations update. This is for the month of October, 66 ship calls, 535 multi-day passengers. We did have a couple of cancellations that Jeff will talk about at a subsequent time due to the weather, the storms, but beyond that, we had a pretty solid month. We've got a lot of inaugural arrivals this fall. The Disney Treasure arrived on November 12th. First revenue sailing will be December 21st. The Caribbean Princess joined us a couple of weeks ago. She's here on came here on November 27th. Last weekend, we had the Celebrity Equinox, December 3rd. We've got the Voyage of the Seas, December 5th, and the Carnival Venezia will be coming up this coming weekend on the 18th. And I do want to highlight that Dave German was named a 2024 Most Influential Leader by the Orlando Business Journal, and we all went to Orlando and celebrated his event. So it was very proud of him for earning that achievement. On the just give it. Great. On the cargo side, we had 66 calls, including lay berth, 452,000 tons so far. In November, we had record-breaking numbers for forest products, lumber and plywood. ASI and GT volumes surpassed 162,000 cubic meters, and December volumes are anticipated to match or exceed what we had in November. This is all on the premise that the housing industry is going to rebound in like the second quarter of next year. The predictions are such that there will be a rebound in new construction, and as such, the lumber is moving already to be in position for any uptick in new construction. So this is how things work in the global markets. You see the products and the bulk materials move first, and then ultimately they're in hand for the next stage where you do the finished products. Gulf Container GT USA erected 5 warehouses to shore up 40,000 cubic meters of forest products on their facility. So we expect a lot more coming through. It's good for us. We did the State of the Port communications update. We did the State of Port. We had 225 in-person attendees, 161 live stream audience, but we had over 900 views of the video online. So we reached a very broad audience, which is great for us. We have new ship arrivals and plaque exchanges, 6.2 billion impressions. I can't explain what impressions are. If anyone wants to know, Steve Linden is here, and this is data that's actually comes right out of our software. It's there's different things in social media that are measured, and this is apparently a big thing. So if you want more information, please talk to Steve. Toys for Tots annual toy drive. No gift too small. All donations help. Most requested items are anything with wheels, bikes, scooters, skateboards, etc. Last day to drop off donations was December 16th, and they'll all go to Toys for Tots warehouse on December 18th. And as right now, over 20 bicycles we have received already. So got a good start for this year's drive. On the government relations, we had quite a few things. We hosted Federal Maritime Commission Lou Sola for port briefing and tour on November 6th. Gave him a tour on the fireboat, so you get to see everything from the water, which is always helpful, in addition to the land tour. We also hosted the military attachés for port operations and security briefing and tour on November 12th. On the state side, we hosted the FDOT District Secretary Tyler and staff for port update on December 5th. We talked about federal grant opportunities for State Road 528 and 401, fuel resiliency, pipeline feasibility study. We have we supply fuel by truck to the Orlando airport, and there's a feasibility study to see if a pipeline would be more efficient and provide more product. Today, Orlando receives all its fuel from the West Gulf, and I think Hurricane Mitchell really was a good example. It had that storm been 20 miles further north and Tampa went down for a period of 30 days. The airports would have been out of fuel because it all comes through one port. So it's something that we think is a good thing for the state of Florida, and we are working closely with FDOT and the Orlando International Airport as well. So it's a coordinated effort. So you'll be hearing more on that in subsequent updates. We're also working on port dredging projects and planning, Southside cargo operations and berth needs. As we look to the future, we have to, we've done a major overhaul on our north side between North Cargo Berth 8, North Cargo 3, North Cargo 4. 5 and 6 were built a few years ago, so we're looking really good on the north side with our pier construction. But on the south side, these piers are getting old. You've seen numerous commission items we've been repairing and fixing concrete and spalling, et cetera. And they probably got another 15 years of life with them. And we're looking at what we might need going forward, and it's probably now time to start looking at the next 50-year berth design, which would be similar to what we've done on the north side. So we discussed that with FDOT, and there may be some approaches we make with the federal infrastructure grants process moving forward. I think I briefed you all individually, but as far as the federal grants, Florida is the number 3 state in the country, 3rd largest state in the country, but we're number 47 on recipients of grant money from the federal government. So,
But that might change real soon.
we're hoping that changes real soon, in which case we want to be lined up with our projects to present as soon as they're available. We also had a port collaboration with Space Force 45 for commercial space access and use of the military wharf. That is progressing through that Space Florida wharf study. There is some movement now on the Middle Basin with the Space Force, and we looked at that over the next year we should see some additional opportunities for the launch service providers over there. So we're excited to be working on that. Also on the state, 2 of our staff, Diane and Samantha, participated in the State of Florida Trade Mission to Italy from November 11th to the 15th. It was organized by Select Florida to promote international trade, business development opportunities. We had 88 delegates representing 5 Florida ports, aerospace, manufacturing, universities, healthcare. Our team participated in executive level meetings with business leaders and regional government officials with the governor, the secretaries of commerce and secretary of transportation, and Space Florida, Rob Long, CEO. Italy, Florida Aerospace Business Seminar at La Nova. It's Italy's regional equivalent to Space Florida. Our team represented both ports and aerospace on this mission. The roundtable discussions on ports, trade, and logistics with regional ports and Assoporti, Italian Association of 55 Ports. So it was very, very port-centric and aerospace-centric as far as our participation. And then the last day, Diane was in a discussion and briefing with the governor and others on the facilities tour of the Leonardo helicopter plant facility over in Italy. And for those of you not familiar, they have a very large operation in Melbourne, Florida. So. Public safety update, participated in industry meetings, North America LNG Bunkering Summit on the 18th to 20th. Corey attended that and brought back a good report, and we keep our representation up there. It's a summit with Society for Gases and Marine Fuel, and we keep up with trends and changes in LNG. We did have a milestone this week on Monday that, I was just thinking about it as I was driving through the port. We had 6 ships in port for the second time this week, but 3 of those 6 ships were LNG powered. So half the ships alongside were powered by liquefied natural gas. So that's a big move for our port, being able to handle that. The Central Florida Intelligence Exchange was on December 5th. Peter's team attended that. We also supported Royal Caribbean Line annual Coast Guard tabletop exercise on November 22nd. We have a hurricane hot wash coming up on December 12th with the Coast Guard, Maritime Partners, Unified Command, and we just go back through the past season. What did we do well? What did we do wrong? What can we do better next year? And Canaveral Fire Rescue is doing quite a bit now with the LNG classes. They had 80 crew members from Royal Caribbean have gone through 5 different classes over there in the recent months. And it's confined space training is also another program in development. So we've got the LNG Training Academy, and it's receiving more and more interest from outside parties as we move forward. So that's another good thing.
Just real quick, refresh me, John. Who's paying for that? We pay, or do the ships pay, or everybody?
They pay, and we've had a training academy for 30 years over there, and it's always been never met a profitable enterprise, but it comes close to breaking even. And with LNG and the skill set and the facility we have here, we've been trying to promote that and make it a more of a profitable operation. And I think it all started with Disney Cruise Line, and Dave Sargent, if he's here, can comment on anything, but it started with Disney back in 1990s, and it's evolved. And while some of the cruise lines, or all of the cruise lines, have their training for their crew members in other countries where they originate, there's very few LNG training opportunities outside of the U.S. really at this point for mariners. So that was the focus initially, and now we're starting to see the fruits of our labor. We've had American roll-on, roll-off American railroad companies, container companies. The American Mariners have come down, SIU, AMO, and Master Bates Pilots and MEBA. All the union people from the American Mariners have been down that are on the new LNG powered ships going to Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico. So it's a pretty broad program, and it's live LNG. There's a cauldron of it, and you can see on the photo, and Dave sends the guys in and say, go put that out. And, you know, generally they start off wrong because put water on it that doesn't work on LNG. And it's a great show. And if any of you are ever around and are interested, Dave would be happy to share with you what goes on at those events.
Thanks.
My last slide is to say thank you. And this is North Cargo Berth 1 and 2. And we are finalizing the dredging this week. And that berth will now be 43 feet, which will enable our fuel partners to bring in bigger ships that allow more opportunities. The size tanker that comes into our facility generally draws between 41 and 43 feet. And historically, if the ship is product is bought on the water and the ship's drawing that deep, they have to get some cargo off somewhere else before they come here. So this makes it a lot simpler. We can have our partners buy a ship on the water of fuel and take it straight into Port Canaveral. And we're working with the pilots and all to make sure we can do that, because with draft restrictions and tides, we can actually get to the 43 feet. And by the time the tide goes out, there's enough products off the ship that it's not touching bottom. So it's a great effort. So thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, John, where is that material being taken to? Do you know?
I believe this is all going offshore to the offshore site. We have a dredge spoil area offshore, and it's all going out there.
Okay.
And this is one of those things, every time we do dredging, there has to be some sampling ahead of time, so we know if it goes offshore or if it has to go on land. It depends if there's contaminants in it or not that can't be or shouldn't be deposited offshore.
I was just curious, maybe it's coincidental. I've seen what seems to be more barge traffic on the Indian River. It prompted my question.
Yeah, they're good. I don't know. We've got this project going on, Sand Bypass at the same time. So there's a lot of dredging activity in the port. Two different dredging companies working simultaneously. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thanks. All right, Mr. Long.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm going to be spending a few minutes going over our October financial results. If you remember, October is our first month of our new fiscal year 25, so we're just 1 month in. After I present the October financial results, I will then go over and review our fiscal year 24 discretionary bonus. We are prepared to show you the final results from our operating margin, and I will walk you through that after we review the October financials. So before I get started with going over October financials, I also wanted to remind you that we have our external auditors in. They are performing a year-end audit for fiscal year 24, so the 12 months ending September 30th, 2024. RSM, they are working here and will be here for about the next 2 weeks, completing their field work. And then sometime at the first of the year, either the January or February commission meetings, they will be reporting their final audit report and making a presentation. So I just wanted to remind you that we are in the midst of the year-end audit for FY24. So taking a look at fiscal year 25 October, first month of the fiscal year. If you remember back in October, I presented to you the financial impact of Hurricane Milton. And if you recall, we had several ship cancellations. We closed the port, as you know, for several days, closed Jetty Park, campgrounds, et cetera. And we anticipated having a revenue shortfall of about $700,000 from Hurricane Milton. And that's exactly what we saw during the month of October. So again, revenue shortfall below budget of about $700,000, a little over $700,000, mainly relating to Hurricane Milton.
As part of that, we, going back to the cruise side, we had several sailings that were canceled. We had 2 home-ported sailings that were canceled during Hurricane Milton. We had MSC Seashore, also Disney Wish were canceled. We had 2 Port-o-Call cancellations, MSC Meraviglia, and also Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas were canceled. So we anticipated this, and we see it in our final October financials. From an operating expense standpoint, you can see we're right at 10 million. And we were favorable from an operating expense standpoint by about $1 million, maybe a little over $1 million. But I believe most of that is timing related. I think in future months, we'll see our operating expenses right at budget or even a little above budget as we get going through the first few months of the fiscal year. So after operating revenues of nearly 14 million and operating expenses of nearly 10 million, our operating income was 4 million for the month. Again, cruise calls, 66, which included having several cancellations because of Hurricane Milton. We had 535,000 passengers. You'll see in a subsequent slide, we were below budget on the estimated number of cruise revenue passengers for the month because of Milton. From a cargo perspective, we moved 452,000 tons through the port during the month. Again, cargo was impacted by Milton as well. Our largest commodity, of course, was fuel during the month. Looking at the 66 cruise calls that we had for October, you can see Carnival had 23 calls during the month, Royal Caribbean with 20, Disney with 12, and MSC with 7. Total passengers, we budgeted 552,000 revenue passengers for the month, but only had 534,000, which was to be expected. Taking a look at the different commodities, you can see that petroleum is by far our largest commodity during the month. We also brought in various other commodities. As you can see, if you look on the right, limestone was the one commodity that was actually above our budgeted amounts due to the fact that we had 2 ships bring in limestone and we only anticipated having 1. So at the end of the month, from a cargo revenue perspective, our total revenues were 1.7 million. That consists of fees, dockage, wharfage, other fees, and then also cargo rent of 500,000. So that's 1.7 million is what we had for cargo revenue. And you can see the number of cargo calls that the captain mentioned and the number of tons that we brought in as well. All other revenue, mainly consisting of leases, recreation, jetty park that Michael spoke to, and other miscellaneous revenues. Our actual revenues in these areas were about 892,000 for the month. So we were under budget by about 31,000. Our budget for these areas, 923,000. And you can see by looking on the right, leases, we were actually a little above our budget in that area. Recreation, we were below budget, Jetty Park, by about 45,000 or so, due to the fact that we closed Jetty Park for several days and had cleanup, et cetera. And then miscellaneous revenue was slightly above budget as well. So taking a look at total revenues, you can see that we were 747,000 unfavorable for the month, so about 5% down as compared to budget. But we expected this, and you can see it in the different line items: cruise, capital cost recovery charge, which is related to cruise and the number of passengers that come in. Also, obviously, cruise parking was down because of the canceled sailings. Cargo was down as well. Leases slightly up, as I've mentioned. Recreation, Jetty Park down because we closed Jetty Park for several days. And then miscellaneous slightly up. So all in, our revenues down about 750,000. From an operating expense standpoint, we were favorable in many line items, the largest of which is facilities, where we had about a 766,000 favorable to budget for the month. But again, this is timing. We will see this reverse in coming months where we'll be slightly above budget, I anticipate. So overall, operating expenses about 1.4 million favorable, or about 12% down. So the net result was that Obviously, we had operating income of $4 million after consideration of our revenues and operating expenses. And then when we consider non-operating revenues and non-operating expenses, which consists mainly of interest income that we're earning and interest expense that we're paying out respectively, our bottom line for the month of October, or addition to net position for debt reduction and port development, was $3.8 million for the month. Any questions? As you know, I've sent you the detailed financial statements. We also met earlier this week and I answered some of your questions, but any further questions? Okay.
Motion.
Absolutely. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to accept the financial memo, the statistical report, the aging report, and the list of bills for October 2024, and to approve the list of disposals, legal bills, and commissioner minor expenses for October 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Quick question. I just forgot that you answered this, but the whole pay issue, that doesn't have to be approved or voted on? What's that? The bonus.
You know what, I'm about to get into that right now.
Oh, you're still gonna, okay,
Commissioner
you're
Justice,
getting
yes.
into that, okay.
Yes, I'm about to do that right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right.
So, great segue.
Yeah, all right.
Let's
I'm
review
behind.
our FY24 discretionary bonus program. So as a recap, kind of to set the table here, last summer, so summer of 2023, the commissioners approved a discretionary bonus program. This program is based on achieving certain operating margin percentages based on operating revenues and operating expenses. So once this program was approved in summer of 2023 by the commission, we actually added it to the Canaveral Port Authority pay policy. Again, it's based on achieving certain operating margin targets. And the details of this bonus program were communicated to all the employees, and including showing calculations and targets, et cetera. Now, the payout ranges from 0% if we don't meet certain targets up to a maximum of 5%. And we base that on compensation for employees. So again, employees receive this communication. And the next slide I want to take you through is what our budget was for FY24. So, and then the following slide after that is what the actual operating margin was. So taking a look at the budget, I want to bring your attention to the bottom left percentage there. The budgeted FY24 operating margin was at 60.8% for fiscal year 24. And the way we calculate that, obviously you take your budgeted operating revenue less your operating expenses of $122.6 million, but part of the operating expenses of $122 million consist of non-cash items, depreciation and amortization. So we back that out to get a true cash net operating expenses. So deducting the net operating expenses from operating revenue, we arrive at operating income, and that amount, 113.8 divided over operating revenue of 187, gives us the 60.8% that was budgeted. Now, if I can take your attention to the right side, you can see the chart and the different margin ranges and the payout percentages for employees. So taking a look at minimum, for example, if we achieve 61.5%, we would have a 1% payout. 62%, we would have a 2%, 62.5, 3%, and so on, with a maximum of 5%. So that was our budget. This was communicated to employees. And the next slide is going to be what our final results were. And you can see bottom left, our final FY24 operating margin was 62.6%, which falls in the lower range of 3%, which is highlighted or circled on the right-hand side. And of course, the margin of 62.6 was calculated by taking our operating revenue, actual operating revenue of $190.9 million, which was about $3.7 million favorable to our budget. and then subtracting out our net operating expenses actual of 71.4, which were about 1.9 million favorable or below what our budgeted operating expenses were, to arrive at operating income of 119.5. So taking that number over the 190.9 calculates out to be 62.6, which falls on that low end of the 3% range. So finally, based on this information, based on the discretionary bonus program that was previously approved, based on the fact that we communicated the program to all employees with the different targets, and now based on what our final results were for operating margin, I am asking the commission to approve a 3% bonus incentive to be paid to all CPA employees that meet individual performance thresholds, for example, meets expectations in their reviews, et cetera. Now, this payout of 3% represents about a $650,000 to $700,000 payout that we have accounted for in our FY24 results. So we've got that accrued for. And we also anticipate, if it is approved, to make this payment or these payments to employees 3% sometime later this month.
So Jeff, I'd like to emphasize, and please elaborate if you could do so more eloquently, that this is not a reflection entirely that the port has been doing pretty well financially. It's also an important feature that expenses are being managed and you're coming in under budget. So
Yep.
Everyone's being encouraged to be more efficient
Yep.
in operations here.
Yes, that's exactly right, Commissioner Markey. The way this calculation works, it not only takes into account operating revenue, but also operating expenses. So, oftentimes I've heard managers and leaders of the organization talk about what's the best approach, what's the most efficient way, how can we contain costs, et cetera. So we continually talk about that as we come across decisions that need to be made, as well as on the revenue side. What can we do to enhance our revenue? So this program was designed to not only impact efficiencies from operating expenses and cost containment, but also to enhance revenues from an operating revenue perspective as well.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion then to approve the 3% bonus incentive that has been established or set out by Jeff Long in his report.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments?
I mean, I'm not speaking for myself, but maybe for the other commissioners.
Yeah.
If you look out there, we still got to get to our car, so you better vote in the right direction, so. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to underscore what Mr. Markey said. An event after event and it's day after day, there's a whole lot of tremendous work that gets done at this port here, and you all do it, and we get to enjoy the results of all of that. Just keep up good work, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Bah humbug. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Anyhow, it passes 4-1, and Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks, Jeff.
If I can get out of here.
Yeah, the sheriff's going to have to help this guy.
That's why he's got a different car he's driving today.
All right, Mr. Crowe. Good
Morning,
morning.
Mr. Chairman. Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to give you an update. I have just a few brief slides from the consent agenda today. Going to start with a very important project to cruise terminal number 6. If you recall, last meeting we kicked off the change out of some glass sliding doors to better facilitate various new vessels, larger vessels, coming to cruise terminal number 6. Currently, Terminal 6 is the only terminal that we have that does not have that ADA accessible debarkation ramp. It depends upon one elevator and one escalator, one very slow elevator, if you ask our operations team, to get passengers from the second floor down to the luggage hall on the first floor. So for over a year, we've been planning this much needed debarkation ramp at CT6. We had looked and evaluated some areas outside the terminal, but we have adjacent facilities, we have adjacent chiller plants, so we're actually looking at building this inside the terminal. There is an area that we've closely coordinated with our operations team that is underutilized in that luggage laydown area. There's actually just some storage of baggage tables that are there currently. We are going to construct this internal ADA compliant debarkation ramp in the CT6 luggage laydown hall. So it's going to greatly improve our ability to handle larger vessels, higher passenger counts, debarking into cruise terminal number 6. So terminal number 6 does have a structural slab, however, it's just not strong enough to support this structure that you see here in the photo. So we're gonna do some helical pile foundations inside, so a lot of saw cutting of concrete, installation of foundations, erection of this steel structure, concrete flooring finishes, and some minor lighting and HVAC improvements as well. All of this is going to be done in between a very busy ship schedule, so that is also a factor that's affecting the cost. So $2.5 million to IV's construction under their continuing contract to implement this facility improvement.
We've got confidence in this construction company.
So we're going to give them, we're giving them a shot, so we'll let you know here in about 6 months.
Okay.
That's why you have them post a bond, you know.
Yeah, that's why we have a bond, right? So very excited about this. It means a lot to our cruise line partners. They've been asking for it. Passengers ask for it as they come off the vessel with luggage and attempt to line up and use the single escalator and the elevator. This is a tremendous add to the function of that facility. So we're all very, very excited about it. Moving on, this is sanitary sewer related, so not a super sexy topic to discuss, however, much very necessary for port operations. We are strategically addressing a few different elements of our sanitary sewer system with this project. As you see at the top, this is a design fee to Jacobs Engineering for the $418,000. It's going to address a few different elements of our mostly force main and pumped sanitary sewer system. When we completed our vulnerability assessment, which was part of our resilience study back in 2023, we identified several near-term improvements that needed to take place at these 7 lift stations. They're all numbered here, 9 through 19, and they are spread, as you see in the graphic, around the port. We need to elevate what is called the wet well elevation and also the electrical control panel at those 7 lift stations. So that improvement is included in this study. In addition to that, we are renovating the master lift station that sits behind the Maritime Center here. And this is the single point of consolidation of all of our sanitary sewer effluent before it goes into the force main down to the city of Cocoa Beach. So there's no need to upgrade the capacity of the lift station, but it definitely needs to be renovated. Pumps will be changed, valving, additional piping. Adjacent to that master lift station, we have a holding tank. When that holding tank was originally sized and constructed, it was thought of as a day tank. Currently, it holds a little over 12 hours of total flow from the port. So we are renovating that day tank, and we're also provisioning additional piping and valving necessary if we need to expand that in the future with an additional storage tank adjacent to it. Last but certainly not least is what's considered chemical dosing, odor control, and also an air filtration system for odor control is going to be implemented at Lift Station 17 on the north side, and also the master lift station as well. So that will improve what is a hydrogen sulfide issue, H2S gas, that's common to sanitary sewer systems. It'll improve that scenario as well. So this is all designed. We'll come back to you at a later date with results of a bidding process and recommendation for award. Any questions? Last but not least is another very, very exciting cruise terminal expansion project. One of my first projects here at the port a decade ago was the 2015, 2016 expansion to cruise terminal number 5. We expanded it from a roughly 70,000 square foot to a facility to about 90,000 square foot. So we're looking at expanding that facility again. It is the oldest cruise terminal that we have here aside from Terminal 2 that was built in the mid-80s. We're looking at renovating the existing 90,000 square foot facility. We are going to update mechanical electrical systems that do date back to the mid-80s. We'll be looking at an approximately 50 to 60,000 square foot facility to take, or expansion to take place in front of the facility between the terminal itself and the parking garage. That will result in an expanded luggage laydown hall on the first floor. We're going to relocate and expand the Customs and Border Protection Federal Inspection Service area, the FIS. And also in this scope is the design criteria package for a yet to be confirmed total number of expanded needed parking spaces. Right now it carries a value of about 1,500 parking spaces. We're just confirming that count internally and also pinning down where we will place those spaces, because as you know, the area around Terminal 5 is very packed. We're just seeking permission to allow us to move forward with negotiating a contract with the recommended partner, BEA, from the selection committee meeting. And we will bring that contract and proposal feedback to the commission at the January 29th, 2025 meeting. That is my update. I wanted to highlight those 3 important projects. Are there any other questions that you may have regarding other projects around the port?
Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are we getting close to tearing down the silos? Is Orion, they're doing that after they're done, or what's going on with that?
So the tenant CMEX is responsible for restoration of that facility, and that does include removal of the silos. They're obviously, we have a contractor that is finishing their project adjacent to the silos. So there's an obvious safety concern about demolishing those silos while we are doing work next to it. The schedule that we got from our contractor, Orion, earlier this week gives us a date of January 25th of 2025 for completion. So that is the date for the contractor's completion. As we've discussed, that is outside of the required substantial completion date for that project. So there are ramifications within the contract for that late date. And our full intent is to enforce the extent of those items clarified in the contract.
If we start demolishing them, maybe they'll speed up a little bit.
So we have a meeting set up actually this afternoon to discuss the realities of this latest schedule update that Samantha Cornelius has arranged with CMEX representatives. So we'll be talking through that this afternoon at about 3 o'clock with the tenant. So did that answer your question?
What is the status of the crane removal?
So this is a new vendor, DH Griffin, and we do have them under contract. They are in the process of initializing those early submittals, the lift plan. We supplied a series of calculations and a suggested lift plan in that bid document. The contractor is responsible for hiring their own engineer of record and performing those lift calculations, the cut plan, and making sure that the cranes are adequate to lift and to lift and place down all the pieces of the crane. So they'll be mobilizing in January. There's a lot of work to be done on those cranes as far as removing fuel, removing oils, and other items before they start to cut and demolish those cranes. So by summer of next year, they should be fully gone off the facility.
Good. I'm sure Clyde will be happy. It's
Right.
all right.
Clyde and all tenants operating in that area.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, folks, we have a lot more to get through here with the consent agenda. I'm going to take 4 minutes. We're going to suspend the meeting, stand up, catch our breaths, and start in 4 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. I think you did not. Okay, that was gonna get.
Okay. We'll get back to business here as we get into our the consent agenda. We've got a couple of public comments. First, Janice Scott, please. Good morning.
Good morning. I don't have a little box to stand on, so I'll try and look over the TV screen here. So, good morning. Thank you very much for letting me make this public comment. I appreciate the port support for recreation of the public. It's really wonderful. And so many people enjoy coming here, Jetty Park and so forth, fishing, recreating. And I especially want to address the superboat race. I know that you have it on your agenda, that you only provide logistical support, no permitting, and so forth. However, this race is being held every year at the beginning of turtle nesting season. Now, turtle nesting season starts at the National Seashore, Canaveral National Seashore, the 1st of March through September. And there's no objection or concerns really about the upland boats on trailers that everybody enjoys. It's ripping up of the beach side where the boats race up and down. Now, you know, there's 7 species of endangered turtles that nest here. From, like I said, the Cape to Fort Lauderdale is the primo turtle nesting area in the United States, actually. And it would be good if that date could be massaged to sometime in April. Now, I serve on a committee in Cocoa Beach, and we briefly touched on this topic because we're like, what could we do? Well, the right whales are protected federally, and they nest here, or they spy them here, see them, from December to March. So I was hoping just to bring this to the public forum so that people could discuss it. Nothing against having super boats here or anything. I know everybody says, well, 15 years, okay, well, they used ether for 50 years before they changed that anesthesia. So, okay, so thank you very much, and I hope that everybody will enjoy seeing the boats on trailers and that everybody will think about it. You know, the turtles actually imprint here. They nest here. They have to survive the raccoons, the dogs, the people, and the seabirds. If they actually get into the ocean and survive, they spend 20 years before the females come back here to nest. And this is where they're hatched here. This is where they come back. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Ken Karpinski. Ken?
See some old faces here, like mine. Anyway, the impetus for me being here was I had read that this is going to be a discussion of the recreation portion of it, which I'm more geared towards recreating than working nowadays. But the first thing that caused it was there's a rumor going around that there's a long-term plan to take and relocate one of the big marinas here and jam it down at the end of the port. Okay, if that's a true plan, it's a bad idea. If it's a rumor, I'll just pass it. I just want to pass on a few things that I think the port can do to enhance standing with the public. Number one, artificial reef program. We used to do it. Put some good ones out there. I was embarrassed just about the other day when I read that the Vandenberg, who knows what the Vandenberg was? It was a ship that was stationed here, home-ported for years. They took it down to Key West and sunk it for an artificial reef. Another port up in the Panhandle got a bunch of Army tanks. There's another one that's considering sinking the old cruise ship United States as artificial reefs. Why is this good? They've done economic studies that say every artificial reef that goes in produces about $750,000 of economic impact on the area. So if the Port Authority would consider upping their program, trying to get one a year or something like that, it'd be great. Second point, if we were to go back to this space for recreational boating, Port Authority has a whole bunch of land along the barge canal that's just not being used for anything. And it would be an interesting plan to go and see how much the widths vary from 50 to 200 feet. And looking to the future to put some facilities over there to start out with some nature facilities, walking, fishing, so on and so forth, to get back more access to the barge canal itself. Now, if and when you start to open up the inside, what do you have to do? Well, one of the best things to do would be to leave the locks open. Everybody goes, oh, we can't do that, it'll silt in the port. Well, there's 4 other ports below Canaveral that are on the same system. Free-flowing water, no locks, their ports are clean, there's a lot of fish and stuff around the entrance and so on and so forth. If you leave the locks open, I did a rough non-engineering calculation, but twice a day you would exchange of water, and that cleans a lot of space. So I'll let you ponder on that, and I'm out of time, and thank you all. Harold, good to see you. Jerry, nice to see you too.
Thanks. Okay, we've got a whole lot of consent agenda items here. Let's get into them. First, Mr. Van Valkenburg, Fritz, which ones would you like to pull?
Nothing to poll today, Mr. Chairman.
Nothing to pull. Commissioner Lloyd?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Allender?
Oh, yes, I'd like to pull 3A, 3B, and 3E.
Okay. Mr. Markey?
1J and 7C.
Okay. I've got, I want to pull 2A and 2B. And I'm going to ask, I'm not trying to keep it reasonable, but I'm going to ask, I think IT is here. I'm going to like pull all of 5 and have you come up and give us a quick, just a boom, 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 all right? Not yet, but when we get to it, all right? And I'm going to add, and as I talk to you, John, we should talk generally about 3 at some, but we pulled some of those items, so we'll get to that. All right? And that's it. Okay. So let's start with 1J then, I think is the first. Oh, that's right, okay. Oh, my goodness.
What your record keeping.
Yeah. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve all of the items except 1J, 2AB,
I'll make a motion to approve
3AB.
all items that were not pulled.
Second.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for.
Good thinking, Jerry.
All, any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye.
Fritz.
Okay, let's start with 1J then.
I've asked to pull that because among the list of providers there, you don't see the specific names, but the professional surveying services continuing contract is proposed to be extended in favor of currently Land and Sea Surveying Concepts, and they are my client, so I'm going to abstain. That's a simple reason. And on 7C, having joined a new law firm actually almost a year ago, a member of that firm is handling some of the upland real estate issues associated with that item. And so since a member of my firm is involved on behalf of the assignee, I'm going to abstain from voting on that one as well.
Okay. So can I get,
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 1J and 7C.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. 1J first.
any discussion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
And I'd like to also make a motion to approve 7C.
Second.
Discussion? You all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Okay. Okay, 2A. I'd like, maybe Mr. Crow. Yeah, I want to publicly recognize and just have a little discussion. I appreciate that Keith's here and just how we got to where we are. And this is a significant change to where we were. And just kind of get that out in public and just talk about everybody's working together, but it's also worth commenting and publicly recognizing what we've done, what we're doing here.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Glad to provide comment. I do want to highlight Craig Langley's efforts in spearheading the amendment. Craig has done an incredible job of collaborating internally with my department, myself and Veronica on my team, and other departments as well. So I think the timeframes and the milestones associated with this amendment provide great flexibility for the zoo and the aquarium team to meet their goals, and also continues to clearly lay out the process for both sides. So just really want to commend Craig Langley and his efforts in drafting the large part of the amendment for the Port Authority. Craig, I don't know if you want to stand up and add any comment to that.
If you have a specific question,
No.
Thank you.
Okay, Keith, I'd offer you if you have any comments.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I feel like we built in the maximum flexibility, working hand with hand in port to make sure it's going to work well on both sides.
Okay, like, as we all know, we've got many years invested in this situation here, and really look forward to it moving along, and I'd love to see it. Can't wait till it gets done. Any other comments? Okay, with that, I'd like to move to, or
I'll
get a motion.
make a motion to approve item 2A.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
And 2B, I'd like to ask John to make a couple comments, but just again, recognize another multi-year operating agreement with another cruise line on top of the, what, 5 or we already work with. And it again, it gets back to the staff and how we handle cruise operations here, really, from beginning to end, to get someone again like Norwegian to show their confidence in it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Norwegian Cruise Line has been a long-time partner of the port. They've been here for approximately 10 years, and their agreement expired in June, and this board extended it until the end of the year so we could do a proper agreement going forward. Norwegian is expanding their fleet considerably. They made that announcement in the April timeframe, I believe, March-April timeframe. And we've been working with them on a long-term view to the future. We're doing this 3-year agreement because that'll allow us to know where we are with our next cruise terminal, and we're going to need another terminal or two in order to accommodate their long-term goals as well as the long-term goals of some of our other partners. So we elected to do this 3-year agreement, and in that 3-year agreement, they're essentially going to more than double their throughput at Port Canaveral in terms of ship counts and guarantees to us. And from 28 onward, we'll have a new agreement that will also include their newer vessels and different sailing opportunities. We couldn't accommodate anything past that point today, just because of the restricted number of facilities we have. I mean, we're full on the days that everybody wants, so we just got to map our way forward. But they're great partners, great people to work with, and we're really glad to have them expanding their operation as much as they will over the next 3 years.
Great. Okay. If I
Move
could-
approval of consent item 2B.
Second?
Any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 3A, B and E.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call on Steve Shelton, a new employee with the board, who's the facility optimization manager, to sort of summarize what all he's got planned in the facilities and beautification of the future for the port.
Okay. All right, thank you. This is my first time up
Mr.
here,
Chairman,
obviously.
if I could, right before.
Yes, please.
Steve has joined us. He's been almost 3 months now. But Steve comes from the hospitality industry and worked a large part of his early career with Hilton Hotels, and comes to us from Miami, where he was with Fontainebleau Resorts. It comes back to my state of the port, where I've said we've got to start elevating the guest experience here in the port. So we've done some reorganization internally, and Steve's running our facilities now, and which includes maintenance of our buildings, construction, or not construction, but landscaping, and just the general appearance of the port. And coming from the hospitality industry, has a different eye for things than we might otherwise as boat guys. So we're glad to have him here, and he's jumped into it with both feet, and we got a couple of big changes, so I'm glad you pulled that so we could talk about them. So thanks for that. I'm sorry, Steve, I'll let you go.
No, I appreciate it. You said it better than I can. First item, number 3A, we are seeking approval, authorizing the port to execute IDIQ agreements with multiple contractors focused on the specific trades you see above. There's 7 of them. These agreements will allow us to quickly meet the needs of the port. They are all designed to allow us to quickly enhance our facilities, the appearance of our facilities, the functionality of our facilities, and the safety of facilities. All agreements will be under $100,000. I can answer any other specific questions if you have them.
What is your general view about, I know Captain Murray has given us a background of where you're from and what your expertise is, and so perhaps in these you could just, in summary fashion, give us your view of where we are and where we need to go.
Well, we want to step our game up a notch just across the board, right? So if you look at landscaping, down the road, we may want to contract out a portion of our landscaping, but we don't know exactly what we want to contract out and in what frequency right now. If we can operate with these agreements for a year or so, we'll be able to figure that out. We'll be able to make decisions on the fly and not make any bad decisions and enter into contracts that don't necessarily fit our exact needs. And that applies to everything: painting, pressure washing, window washing. We need to paint the parking garages. We need to paint the insides of our cruise terminals. But do we need to do that on a quarterly basis, semi-annual, once a month? I'm not exactly sure. And if we can do business this way for a year, we'll know exactly what we need going into the following year. That applies to pressure washing the parking garages, pressure washing in front of the cruise terminals. It's basically the same principle across the board. This will allow us to make the decisions when they need to be made in a way that benefits the port the most, so that going forward we can be more proactive and plan all these tasks in advance.
But increase the visual view of what the port looks like.
Absolutely. The goal is to
public.
step everything up, increase the overall appearance of our cruise terminals, our landscaping, increase the functionality of all of our properties. That includes our HVAC systems, our elevator systems, anything that a employee or a guest can touch. We want to enhance their experience while they're here at Port Canaveral.
And you mentioned the maintenance of the elevators or the elevator stuff, what is your view in that area that you're addressing here with these items?
These items don't address the elevators, that'd be the next item.
Okay,
Do you want to move to that?
Sure.
All right, so we can move to that. We're seeking commission approval to enter into enhanced performance-based elevator agreement with Schindler. The key features of the agreement include measurable and enforceable KPIs. The KPIs can be measured in real time from anywhere at any time. Other key features are minimum on-site staffing requirements. We'd like to have Schindler technicians on-site on a daily basis, 365 days a year, based on our business levels from 4:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. There's unit by unit, elevator by elevator, escalator by escalator, preventative maintenance SOPs written into the agreement that state minimum maintenance hours per month. There are thresholds that need to be met as far as shutdowns are concerned. If a unit goes out of service, generally the elevator contractor will have 24 hours to get it back into service. If they don't meet that threshold, we can pull the billable portion for that piece of equipment out of the contract for a month, which means we're not charged for it, and it gives them even more of an incentive to meet the terms of the agreement to keep things operational. It's written in the agreement that all vertical transportation must operate at least 95% of the time to be billable. And Schindler will also manage and maintain our annual elevator certificates.
KPI
KPI,
is,
key performance indicators.
there we go.
Yeah.
and it's, you want to make,
Well, at the end of the day, it's designed to, maximize the efficiency and safe operation of all of our vertical transportation systems.
and if you want to address what you're asking for in 3E,
Sure, I feel like I'm on a roll at this point.
Sure.
So we can move into that. We're seeking commission approval to authorize the port to enter an enhanced agreement with Adelte. Adelte is the manufacturer of, let's call it 98% of our passenger boarding bridges. The boarding bridges are a critical part of, the port's business, the business model. Recently, we have restructured the operations and maintenance of the passenger boarding bridges. We brought everything under one department. Going forward, one of our primary focus is gonna be on retraining this entire team. And Adelte is gonna provide be a pivotal part of the success of that team. So what we're asking for is approval to bring resources from Adelte onto our staff to lead the charge in the retraining and day-to-day, the assistance with day-to-day challenges we face surrounding these boarding bridges.
and what will be accomplished if this is approved from what's been done in the past? I mean,
Well, the boarding bridges are gonna be significantly more
No, I know.
reliable. When the ship shows up, they'll be ready to go on. There's not gonna be delays. Your number one customer is gonna be quite a bit more happy.
so it's got a process of eliminating any potential delays of the boarding bridges that occurred occasionally in the past.
No delays or any safety issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I still, John was trying to sell me on how it's gonna happen, but I'm looking forward to getting the spare bridge. That's a great idea. But how that's gonna get moved around the port, I'm still, I'm gonna see that. Okay, I mean, it seems very hard, but,
They'll manage it some
If
way.
it was hard, everyone would do it.
That's
We'll figure it out.
yeah, I know you will. I also want to just comment and compliment the step forward here that we're all taking, by getting more focused, planned maintenance, getting ahead of the whole maintenance issue, and being a retired military guy, that's all he ever did was try to get ahead of the maintenance. So this is a good step writ large for all of us.
I agree.
All right, well, thank you. Appreciate that support.
And hopefully, and I know you will, Steve, in the future, keep us sort of informed from time to time how all of this is working out.
Absolutely.
Because it's important for the port and for our customers. So, Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of consent items 3A, 3B, and 3E. Oh, Okay, move approval of item 3A.
Second.
Discussion.
Okay, yeah, discussion, all in favor?
Aye. Approval of item 3B.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of item 3E.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Good morning. Just a couple sentences per each item. There's a lot going on here, but again, it's the same construct that we're getting ahead. We're using technology to make things a lot better, and it's money well spent. But go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Mark LaRusso. I'm the Vice President of IT for the Port Authority. So items 5A and 5B are similar, or different projects, but they're both related to our parking operations. We use a vendor called Flash Parking. At cruise terminals 6 and 10, we recently constructed 2 parking garages. So we want to get more granularity on our parking counts there. So 5A actually supports that. We're going to be implementing LPR, license plate recognition cameras, throughout those facilities that will actually allow us to determine how many cars, let's say, are in the CT6 East garage versus the CT6 West garage versus a CT6 surface lot. So that's going to really help out Clyde and Bruce's team in the parking operations group. So this project is in support of that.
Mark, if you don't mind, I'd just like to highlight the problem we're trying to fix. When you come into a parking garage, you get checked in, and then it checks you out when you go out the other side. The challenge at 6 and 10, now that we have 2 garages, is if you check in when you come into the main gate and you can park at either garage, there's no way to know how many cars are in each of the garages without this additional software before you finally check out on the back end. So it allows us to use the software technology that's in the handhelds to know how many spaces are available in each garage. Otherwise, you just know there's cars in garages, but you don't know what the counts are. So this is to help the operation go smoother and facilitate and use the technology to our advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So 5B is to add the flash parking system to the CT1 East surface lot. This is a result of increased parking here at Port Canaveral and additional ships being added. So we've got Celebrity operating out of Cruise Terminal 1 in addition to Royal Caribbean now. So there is an increased need there, and we're going to start to see this as we get into spring break and busy seasons as those ships call that terminal on a regular basis. All right, so 5C and 5D are very similar projects. The only difference is the user of those projects. So in 5C, this is recapitalization of our server and storage equipment that we use. This equipment runs 365 days a year, 24/7. So we have a 5-year recapitalization cycle on that equipment, because after year 5, we start to see significant increases in failures of the hardware. So this is in support of both the new hardware and the software that gets installed on those servers. 5C is for Canaveral Port Authority. 5D is a very similar project, as I mentioned. This is for U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So my team supports all of the physical security systems that are within the FISs within each cruise terminal. So this hardware and software allows us to deliver those services to CBP.
Great.
And then 5E, similar to the others, it's the same technology that we're using in 5C and D, but this is actually a renewal to an existing contract we have. It's a 5-year software contract, software and support renewal. So this supports all of our existing servers and clustering, as well as our disaster recovery services.
Okay, great. Mark, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so we have to do each one of these individually?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd Move to approve item 5A.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of 5B.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5E.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's that. All right. Public comments? No? Okay. All right. Let's go Commissioner reports. Commissioner Markey, Kevin?
Yes, I had the privilege of participating in our plaque exchange, customary plaque exchange for a newly boarded ship, the Caribbean Princess, just before Thanksgiving. Quite different than the other ones I've participated in. A live entertainment and confetti and speeches and news cameras. So it was a different experience, but I really enjoyed it. I did get to participate in our junior ambassador program in November, which I spent the morning with a group of, remember this is the high school program that helps expose high school juniors to what goes on at the port and what opportunities are available at the port. And it was a fascinating exchange with our canine units here at the port, just amazing animals. And then we spent some time on the fireboat, which again was very impressive because the fire personnel talked about how much education they had to have, how much it costs, how long it takes. I mean, it was very informative and I thought very worthwhile. And lastly, I just wanted to commend staff. It seems like the state of the port presentation is more highly produced and more impressive each year. So way to go, guys. Just good job. That's it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Jerry?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
I have none. Merry Christmas.
Rich?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real briefly, the last month, I attended the aquarium event. Kevin was there too as well, to honor the Bowen family. They were one of the big contributors up front, and actually the name of the aquarium is, I believe, the Bowen Aquarium and Education Center. So that was in the news. We couldn't say anything about it for a couple weeks before they publicized it. That was a nice event. And then on December 7th, I attended the plaque exchange on the Celebrity Equinox, or Equinox is how they pronounce it. Beautiful ship, nice layout, and the staff, crew were great, and great addition to the port. So look, that was a nice event.
Okay, I'll just be, I'm gonna say thanks. We all, the fellow commissioners here, we all had a whole bunch of events this month, and everybody picked up, helped, shared, and it made us get through it. So I appreciate that. Okay, who's in charge of the Christmas party from the staff? Who's in charge? Who put the Christmas party on? Come on. Okay. I want to thank you publicly, but thank the whole staff. That was a great, that was a nice Christmas party. Really enjoyed the camaraderie and getting a chance to say Merry Christmas to everybody. So, good job, as always. Exactly. And with that as well, Merry Christmas to everybody. And have a great holiday season. Be safe. And we'll see you, just right, January 29th. January 29th. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.